I mean, we don't live in a vegan world. Like the world doesn't revolve around us. We just have to adapt with certain things. And yeah, that really helped me stay really focused and humbled.
Creative Conversations.
Hey, Zouk Family, welcome back. It's another week and another chance to talk to a superstar here in Malaysia. I'm super excited. We met Roshan over the summer, super inspirational guy. I love chatting to him. And now I get to talk to his better half, Natalie Prabha, not just one of the most famous faces and most sought after models in Malaysia, but also a super smart content creator. And Natalie has many stories to tell. And I'm really excited because Nat, recently we just spoke to Paulius from All Is Amazing. So we managed to get a perspective from behind the camera, and you can offer us a perspective from in front of the camera. But first and foremost, how are you?
I'm good. And apart from that, thank you for the huge compliment. That's honestly one of the nicest things people have ever said. But yeah, I'm good. I think surviving this year, it's been a tough year for everyone. But yeah, holding up, not too bad.
So before we get into the intelligent pivoting that you've made from being what would be widely regarded as a model, and then you flipped into content creation during the time when people couldn't leave their homes, and I guess you had to come up with a lot of your own content being locked indoors. How did you get started in modeling? Because I'm sure this is an industry that hundreds of people involved in lifestyle will be fascinated by and not really understand a lot about it.
So from my end, it was really by chance. I was scouted. I was basically drinking with a couple of friends at a bar, and someone from Fashion Week, it was Malaysian Fashion Week at that time, approached me and said like, hey, do you model? And I said like, no, I have done like 1 or 2 gigs, but just as a favor. And then she's like, would you like to walk for us? And I was like, yeah, like I have nothing to lose. I was still studying at that time, and I just went for it. People noticed, and then things just kicked off. I was actually one of the more privileged models out there, I would say, because things just happened and like fell into places for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are challenges in between, but yeah, I think a lot of models, they had to work their way up, going to countless of castings and things like that just to get noticed. And mine was just by chance, and yeah, I'm forever grateful, from that night. So I do encourage people to go out, meet people, drink, have a good time, mingle. So yeah, just happened that way.
That's a super interesting story, especially from the context that you were just enjoying yourself and someone spotted your photogenic nature from across the room. You've been mega successful. I saw recently you posted on your social media that you're on another cover. Can I ask you, from your very first shoot, were you nervous when you started? And now you just seem like a natural. You pick the angles so perfectly. So was it a transition? Did you have to grow in confidence with the role?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my first shoot, I started doing shows more. Basically you just walk for 2 minutes and that's about it. But being in front of the camera, it's like a whole new different thing, because you have to bring out a character and, be a part of, the concept, the clothes, the makeup, and building confidence it's a huge challenge. And to be honest, to date, I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing whenever I'm in the camera, like in front of the camera, really. Like I just stand and try to imitate what I see from pictures, and for some reason it works. And this year has actually been not too bad modeling wise, because like you mentioned, the cover, that was my 3rd cover this year, and I've only had 4 covers in my lifetime. So yeah, this year has been the most. So that was really exciting, and just to close off the year like that, it's so privileged. I'm so ever so grateful for that opportunity.
Congratulations. I mean, I'm super happy that someone has found amazing positives from 2020. It's great to see that you, number one, have tasted such success, and number two, you seem so humble about it. So let me ask you, what's it like? You see yourself on a cover, you walk past and your face is looking back at you. It must be a surreal occasion.
It is definitely surreal, being a small town girl from Sabah, Just coming out in the city, everything is just so different for me. People is different, the vibe is different. And it's a huge pressure as well, taking on this role because you're representing like Sabah, Kota Kinabalu. Apart from me, I think the only one, I think she's definitely bigger than me because she is now based in New York and doing every campaign possible in New York. And her name is Atika Karim. She started way earlier than I did when 17. I started very much when I was like 24, and I'm 26 now. So yeah, it's really exciting, like to see my face and people getting excited seeing my face, like on the on a cover or on a billboard or things like that. It's really surreal even until now. It's so exciting every time I go into a shoot. It just feels unreal every time.
That's awesome. And once again, it must be a thrill and a half. What I want to focus on, something which you were just educating me about just before we started this chat, is you're obviously in great shape, your skin's in great condition, and you've lived your life under a discipline for the last half a decade of being a vegan, and you've proved that people who don't eat meat or certain products will not be at a disadvantage when approaching a certain lifestyle or have to be in a certain shape or a certain figure. How did you get into veganism? And to be really honest, Nat, if I take one step back, can you describe veganism? Because I think it's a concept that not many people fully understand. It's a catchphrase that people use, but I don't think people, and there may be a fear of it from people not really understanding what it is.
So veganism, for me, veganism is a lifestyle. It's almost like a religion, basically, because you're living in this kind of like paradigm and understanding towards things. Mainly people know it as a diet. So it's like vegetarian, but it's completely plant-based. So no dairy, no meat, no eggs, no honey. But in terms of the lifestyle wise, it's also based on on the clothes that you choose, on the beauty products that you choose, and also like detergent and things like that. It has to be cruelty-free and eco-friendly. Even like I personally don't purchase leather because it is made from cow or things like that. So nothing that involves, hurting another being, basically like a being that feels feelings. So yeah, that's to me what veganism is. And that really helped me stay grounded. I mean, going back to your question before, being pressured by all these external stimulus around you, that part of me of being vegan really helped me stay humble and be grateful towards everything that I have. Because the world, we don't live in a vegan world. Like the world doesn't revolve around us. We just have to adapt with certain things. And yeah, that really helped me stay really focused and humbled.
I watched a very fascinating documentary on Netflix called Game Changers, which showed that for people like myself who love to the gym, love to play sport, you don't actually need those animal products in your life. I'll give you a perfect example. Djokovic, who's arguably one of the greatest tennis players to ever live, managed to taste success and in one of the purest forms of athleticism through the vegan diet. But also, I was really disturbed to see how much wastage there is when people pursue an animal diet. And it almost shows that it's not worthwhile, and we actually don't need it. So hopefully more people take interest and note of what you are doing, the pursuit of the life you are, and educate themselves on veganism, because it will definitely help the planet.
Yeah, it does require a lot of resources to produce maybe just one serving of meat. It requires a lot of feed for the livestock, and a lot of waste goes into that to just produce like the feed for them. Whereas we can just consume that feed, like the vegetation itself, and that is actually a form of protein. So the main reason why I went vegan is because of the environment. I really wanted to give back and reduce my carbon footprint. So yeah, I think it was really unnecessary to be eating so much meat because of the consumption of the resources and things like that. Yeah, it requires a lot of water, a lot of fossil fuel, and cows actually produce methane gas from their farts that goes into the atmosphere, which accelerates climate change. So that was one of the reasons that I went vegan, and it is proven that it's better for your health. You don't need it because animal protein, yes, it is. It does have high amount of protein for muscle building and things like that, but it also has very high saturated fat and cholesterol, which leads to heart disease and diabetes and obesity, which is accelerated in this time of age, especially now that we're in this lockdown and pandemic, that we don't walk and burn it off as much. So yeah, definitely eating more plant proteins is higher in fiber, and there are more nutrients in that. And I mean, I think the reason why my skin is the way it is, I mean, it's not the best skin in the world, but it is better than before I turned vegan, is mainly because of what I eat. And it really shows, from within, like you glow from the inside out, I would say. And yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I stuck to this diet until today.
It's fantastic that you are helping us to educate people on what it means, and second of all, that it's having a greater good. And lastly, it's fantastic that you're using your platform to put it to a productive means of hopefully educating people to help not just the environment, but also the animals that can't defend themselves. We've spoken to various people from NGOs, like a good friend of ours, Jean Liu, has a TNRM which actively protects stray animals. There's a lot of good people out there doing good things, and it's great for us to be able to share that message. Moving on, you just mentioned what certain limitations during the lockdown. You actively pursued a fantastic use of time during the lockdown and moved into content creation. Very smart of you. How did that come about, the move from focusing on your modeling to now getting into a content creation and now doing it for clients?
Well, when the first lockdown was announced, I was absolutely shattered because, I mean, I had a packed out schedule, like with shoots and shows. And when you have a packed out schedule, you will pack in a lot in your bank account too. So I was like settled with that, you have a peace of mind just there, not having to worry about that. But as soon as lockdowns happened, shoots, everything was basically canceled. Some are postponed, but postponed till you just don't know when. You just haven't. Yeah, I decided to start creating content from the large response for whenever I do share what I cook on my Insta story. I will just randomly show how to do it, and then people actually gain like interest. They would ask me questions like, "Oh, can I use this as a substitute? Because I don't have this." So then I realized people are very interested in this diet and like what I eat. So, and before I started modeling, when I used to study in Australia, I used to actually digitally create recipes for a health foods company. So I did have like some background in terms of writing a recipe and also like knowing how to show the steps and things like that. And also food photography, because I had to take my own photos for their website. I decided to put that into good use, and then got myself a new laptop because my old laptop was just completely useless. Learn how to edit, but super basic video editing. And I just posted one video from there, and it got really good response, and everyone was asking me to start my own YouTube channel. But I know that takes a lot of work, and that's why I'm slowly starting to build a team that can help me quicken the process, because it does take a lot of time and a lot of effort if you're a one-man person, or one-woman person.
Are you enjoying it?
So yeah, that's been fun. I love it. I love it so much because it does bring in some creativity apart from just, being an entity or like a mannequin when you're modeling. It does allow me to express myself creatively and constantly do research with what's trending and like the food, what's happening in like the food industry, and especially online with TikTok, and people are into transitions now more than the content itself. So that's been really fun. Might start TikTok soon because it's really fun. But it's been really great. I love it.
Share your TikTok with us when you do, so we can share it with everyone, because I've recently started following once we were introduced by a mutual friend, especially for Zouk Digital, and your stories are super fascinating. And I promise you have my word, I'm going to try and make some vegan food now that I've pursued this conversation, and I'm going to try and educate myself a bit more. But once you start
I'll share your recipes.
Definitely share with us, please. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's all on, not all of them. I try to put as much as possible on my Instagram, on my stories, and on like IGTV and things like that. And even just recipe cards, just photos of the dish that I make. And then if you slide left, there will be the recipe card right there. So it's really convenient for everyone. You can save it for whenever you want. Actually, early this year, I plan to start like a recipe ebook that was my goal, to do on the side while modeling, and not so much like video. But now that I have more time, and I think people are staying at home more and, watching YouTube and are on their phones a lot more now. So why not start, doing it visually in terms of video? So yeah, it's been going great so far. A lot of time, it's really hard. It's harder than I expected. It looks so easy when you watch the video, but when you're actually doing it, and I don't think I'm a natural, even just talking in front of the camera, it really takes a while for me to warm up. And to be honest, I have to have Roshan leave the room before I record something, because it's just so weird. Like, you have to kind of put on like a character in a way to make yourself more interesting. Yeah.
Well, I look forward to the ebook, and also don't be too harsh on yourself. Even now, you seem very natural, and also, kicking Roshan out the room won't be the worst thing, so it's okay.
No, I mean, we do work together. We shoot together whenever I have content to shoot for. Yeah, so he helps because he's a photographer as well. So that's been great. Like, whenever I have work, I'll get him to help me shoot, or when he has a job, then he'll suggest me as a model. So that's really convenient. During the lockdown as well, we actually did 2 campaign lookbooks in our apartment. The client is just, on Zoom with us, and then he's shooting, and I'm trying to dress myself up and then sharing them the photos. Yeah, so that was interesting. That's a new normal now.
Hey, that's fantastic pivoting right there. You've managed to turn your home into your office, so that's fantastic. Let me ask you this. People who will watch this will definitely be fascinated by your career and definitely be fascinated by what you do. And even if it's not specifically fortunate enough to be perfectly photogenic, but you are interested in a career in fashion, or as you say, photography, or whether it be makeup or any element to do with that world, the world of fashion and lifestyle, what would be your advice to people starting out? Because it can be an intimidating place. People might not know how to get into it. You were discovered almost by chance, but then you've pursued it, you've worked hard, you've educated yourself, and you've been successful off the back of it. What would be your number one advice to people today looking and saying, do you know what? That's somewhere, that field is where I want to be, but I just don't know what to do.
For me, I think it's just getting yourself noticed. And the best platform to get yourself noticed is from social media. So just keep posting about it, because I do have a friend that she loves makeup. She's really good at makeup, especially with very interesting graphic makeup. And she just puts it online on her Instagram, and she got noticed. And a lot of clients approach her for it. So it really takes time to build yourself. But the beginning of something requires you to start. I mean, just try. If it doesn't work out, then maybe it's just not yet. It's a sign to show you that it's not yet, and maybe you should be doing something else. Yeah, because I have had a fair share of things that I wanted to do, but it just didn't work out. And then stumbled upon another opportunity, and then you realize, hey, this happened because you were meant to do this instead.
I think that's really sound advice, because sometimes you may fail at your first hurdle and come back to it at a later date when you're better prepared, or the world might change and need a certain look or a certain skill set that it didn't need previously. But it doesn't mean you should be disheartened enough not to retry, because I don't think any of us have been successful at the very first try of doing anything. I mean, there's many lessons to learn. The second question I'd love to ask you, is I think you're in a perfect position to help, is if people have self-confidence issues, and as you said, at the beginning, sometimes you even humbly describe that you still don't know exactly what to do in certain situations. What would be your advice to people who have, confidence issues or scared to take a first step? Because it requires a lot of confidence to do what you do so well. You've got a fantastic career, you've been on covers of magazines, and you're a great beacon for people to look up to, a great role model. And there must have been times you've been nervous. How have you got past those nerves?
I think to date, I will never be not nervous. I'll always still have self-esteem issues. I don't know any model that does not have any self-esteem problems. I think because we have a high expectation of having to always be switched on, to always look pretty, and to always have good days instead of bad days. So in terms of building your confidence, I think it's really just affirming yourself that you can do it. Look in the mirror and say hey, you're beautiful, or educate yourself on how to build a strong foundation within yourself, because yes, people are going to judge you for your appearance regardless, because that's how the modeling industry is. They're going to judge every single part of your body, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to fill yourself in with a good foundation for you to not take it personally. I think I was quite privileged to start at an older age, like at 24. So maybe at that time, I'm just like, whatever people would say about me, I'm just like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. Like, I just want to be successful in my career at the end of the day. So like the haters are going to hate. But for younger people, I do see that maybe they will take things personally. If I were to start at the young age, say at like a tender age of 16, different story. Maybe I would end up with, different things like eating disorders or things like that. And yes, I did go through that at a younger age as well. And now when I look back, there's really no need for that. It was pointless. It was such a waste of time. So just know that don't let anyone or anything get to you, and you just have to be yourself at the end of the day. Yeah. So the confidence part really starts from yourself and how much you know about yourself and how much you love yourself. So when they say self-care, it's not really about just the beauty products or going to spas and things like that. It's really about filling yourself with love and understanding and being okay with being you. Yeah.
I think you've just made the perfect phrase for what would have been my final question, which would have related to the tough year. I mean, you've had a fantastic year, 3 covers in 2020, and I'm really happy that I'm speaking to someone who has taken huge positives from this year. Congratulations again. But be happy with being you is such a great phrase, because I feel that in the day of social media where people are cross-comparing themselves, and I see a guy in a private jet, but I'm riding on a Grab taxi, or I see someone who looks amazing in a Louis Vuitton shirt or has a Rolex watch, and I've got a Mickey Mouse, Casio watch. You just be happy with who you are, because the reason we have friends is because people do love you for the way you are. And I think you've just really made an amazing phrase for us, and thanks for sharing that with us, because I think it's one of the best messages that I've heard this year. Did you find that while you were pivoting and you looked at 2020 and you had to relocate to use your flat as your office, were there difficult moments for you this year during lockdown, and was there any ways that you got up in the morning, you said, I'm going to make today a better day?
Definitely. I think especially when you're at that time when we were all under lockdown, we were just stuck at home and the routine is the same. Whereas before, you have different things around you that affect you, like, you get to meet you get to go out and meet this person, or you get to go to this event or things like that. So you kind of get distracted with what's currently happening. But during the lockdown, I think sometimes the routine gets a bit too repetitive and it does get a bit boring. Like, yes, at the start, I was really motivated. I wake up and like, I'll plan a recipe, do this and film. And then after a while, you're just so bored of it. And then some days I just wake up and I just don't want to wake up anymore. Like, you just want to just do nothing all day. But yeah, I think just acknowledging that really helps me move forward from like this anxiety of what's going to happen next. And yeah, just know that there are better days ahead. And maybe if I don't have to always wake up and know that it's going to be a productive day. Like, some days could be unproductive, and you just have to be okay with that. Just let it be, let it flow, because right now there's really nothing else you can do but just to be with yourself and just to take time and stay grounded within yourself. And yeah, maybe read a book, learn something, go on Coursera and learn a new course or something like that. Yeah, so because I feel like there's so many things that we can learn every day. I mean, knowledge has no age, so yeah, I love learning. I love learning new things, and that keeps me motivated to wake up every day, because there's so many things I don't know about and I'm eager to learn.
I'm fortunate I've managed to learn from you today, and everyone who listens to this will also. And I now have the perfect opportunity. The very last question I'll ask you before you go. I'm shameful. I've been here for over half a decade. I've spent most of my time around Kuala Lumpur, but I've been to Malacca, I've been to Penang, I've been to Ipoh. but I've never been to East Malaysia. Please, can you recommend some places for me to visit?
There's so many places. If you're a nature lover, if you love hiking or mountain climbing, definitely try climbing the Mount Kinabalu. So many underrated islands, especially. So I managed to visit Sabah back home right before the CMCO hit, like 3 weeks after that. After I came back, CMCO happened again. So there's an island that I love. It's called Mantanani Island. So it's also known to be a mermaid island because there is a chance of you spotting a dugong, and it's just so peaceful there. It's so beautiful. I managed to spend like 4 or 5 days, and it was just really cleansing. But if you love food, if you're a food lover, if you love seafood, I mean, coming from vegan, recommending seafood, I know people are gonna think I'm a hypocrite, but no, if you love seafood, go to Sabah. Best place to have seafood, super cheap. And yeah, I mean, if you do go, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to go with you. I'll take Roshan with me. We'll all go, and I'll take you to all the places.
Thank you so much for today. It's been really wholesome. First of all, thank you for your time. Second of all, thank you for educating us in many ways, not just where to go in Sabah, but also with your veganism and also your career path to date. But as I said, you've offered us some fantastic advice from someone who, on the covers of magazines, like an epitome of confidence, a great look, shining forth, but you've also opened us up to how to tackle vulnerabilities as well. And I think that's super honest, super humble, and makes for fantastic listening, especially for myself and everyone else. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Joseph.
And
had so much fun.
Please send our best to Roshan. Love that we've done the duo. This time will have to be you two together. You can't kick him out the room for that conversation.
No.
But please stay safe, look after yourself, and continue with your success. And we can't wait to see more covers soon.
You too. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you for having me. Bye.
Pleasure.